Hello, Rama Rama Pupodu. Hope all are in good health, feeling great, wonderful, relaxed, having a peaceful life. Now let's go to chapter 33. Jwalajee-Pathankot 1. Pain transmuted into joy. In the evening, they reached the station of Hoshiarpur, where they spent the night on the terrace of the huge rest house for pilgrims. Here some pilgrims provided them with a drink of undiluted warm milk and with cots to sleep on. Dysentery continued to harass Ramdas' body. Early next morning, they prosecuted their journey on foot to Chintapurni, which lay about 45 miles from Hoshiarpur. They had to walk up a gradually rising tract of land. They covered 15 miles during the day and found the rest in a small village rest house. Except for stopping 4 or 5 times for answering calls of nature, Ramdas and Ramcharandas walked the distance at a rapid pace. Ramdas eat solid food. He had a cup of milk while Ramcharandas procured by Bhiksha some dal and rotis for himself. At daybreak next day, they started again. At about 8 o'clock, they reached a wayside hamlet. As they neared a sweetmeat shop, the eatables exhibited in the shop drew the attention of Ramcharandas. Poor boy! His mouth must have watered at the sight of the tempting sweets. There was, by the side of the shop, a small thatched shed for the use of customers. Ramcharandas entered it, followed by Ramdas. They sat on the floor. There was none else in the shed. Ramdas thought that Ramcharandas proposed to have some rest after 3 hours' walk. God's ways are wonderful. A few minutes after they entered the shed, two Punjabis came in and sat near them. One of them, saluting Ramdas, enquired if he could get for them milk from the adjoining shop. Ramdas gave an affirmative nod. The Punjabi then got for them 2 huge brass cupfuls of milk. Each cup contained about a seer of the liquid. Ramcharandas and Ramdas drank it. Then the Punjabi asked Ramdas, "Maharaj, where are you going?" "To Chintapurni," was Ramdas' simple reply. "We are also on our way to the same place, and I should consider it a great privilege to go in your company," he pleaded. So the four, forming a party, continued their journey. Ramdas now walked at an incredible quick pace. He suggested that they should reach Chintapurni that very night. He had half a dozen motions of dysentery on the way, yet walk at a rapid speed was kept up in spite of the undulating surface of the land they had to traverse. They had to cover a distance of 27 miles. At about 9 o'clock in the night, they arrived at Chintapurni. They rested for the night outside a stable. Chintapurni is a small town with a mandir of a Devi, after whom the town was named. The belief goes that a visit to this shrine dispels entirely one's sorrow and anxieties. Hence the name of the goddess. Next day, the party, after bath, paid a visit to the temple. The Punjabi friend, whose name was Jawandas, persuaded Ramdas to stay in that hamlet for a day for rest. He felt great concern about Ramdas' health on learning of the attack of dysentery. Refreshed by a day's rest, the party started again. They were bound for Jwalajee, which lay about 25 miles from Chintapurni. Again they commenced walking on at a brisk pace. They had a halt for about 2 hours at midday beneath the trees on the way. By now, dysentery had stopped, but as they neared Jwalajee, Ramdas felt something wrong with his right foot. However, by evening they reached Jwalajee, where they spent the night in the ashram of Dashanami sannyasis, an ashram very near to the temple of Jwalajee. Here they were provided with meals and treated with great kindness and hospitality. Next day, Ramdas, wishing to find out a separate dwelling place, searched the hill for a cave and discovered a few yards above the ashram a solid structure containing a number of vacant rooms in a line. Ramdas proposed to occupy one of these. Ramcharandas and Jwandas also became his roommates, and the other friend who accompanied Jwandas, having separated from the party on the way, as he was a college student returning to his parents who lived somewhere in the district. Ramdas now detected a slight swelling on the sole of the right foot. However, they wanted to finish the darshan of Jwalaji, for which purpose they had come. The temple is made of a square block cut out of a solid mass of rock. The roofing is of plated gold, having a beautiful dome with artistic designs carved on it. The dome shone with great luster in the bright sun. It is said that the gold roof was presented by the great soldier and king Ranjit Singh of historic fame. As of Ramdas entered the temple, he observed that its inside was conspicuous by the absence of any image. A few steps inside from the doorway was a small oblong pit, in which was seen a big tongue of flame, waving and hissing, and also similar smaller flames issuing out of the rock walls at other places all round the interior of the temple. There were altogether about 7 such volcanic flames. By Jwalaji is meant flame goddess. The worship and darshan were of the flames. Coming out of the temple, Ramdas ascended a flight of steps to the right of the temple and came to a small shed, where he saw a circular hole bored in a rock to the depth of about 2 feet, in which water was set boiling by the heat of a flame below. Later, Ramdas heard from Jwandas that the flames in the golden roofed temple accepted the offering of milk by licking off nearly half the quantity of the milk presented to them, leaving the rest as prasad to the devotee. He gave this as his own experience. The darshan over, Ramdas and the party returned to their room. The succeeding day, the swelling on the foot of Ramdas increased. It took the shape of a boil. In 3 days, it assumed the size of a large lemon. Jwandas and Ramcharandas busied themselves applying various ointments to it, so that it might ripen and burst open. All the time, Ramdas, in spite of the boil, was smiling and cheerful. Sadhus in great numbers came to see Ramdas in that condition. The thing that surprised the most was to behold Ramdas' smiling face, although the condition of the foot could not permit of such a merry demeanor. Ramdas hardly slept in the nights. He sat up the whole night leaning against the wall. He was experiencing unbroken ecstasy. In such a mood, he would go on talking about the devotion and division and divine vision. Jwandas, who was eager to collect Ramdas' sayings, would jot down on scraps of paper, as quickly as he could write, every bit that fell from Ramdas' lips. He used a country oil lamp made of an earthen dish. The notes covered several sheets of paper. 7 days passed. The boil showed no signs of bursting. One early morning, a sannyasini, that is, a female sannyasi, paid a visit to Ramdas. She saw the boil. Her heart was touched. Maharaj, she said, the boil seems to be quite ripe now. It requires only opening up. I shall run down and send a barber who will open it and give relief to your foot. So saying, the kind-hearted mother went down the hill. About half an hour later, a barber, who was also the village surgeon, turned up. Ramdas stretched out his affected legs towards him, and with a blunt instrument he began to operate upon the boil. The skin of the sole being naturally thick, the instrument had to be used with some force. However, he made an incision, and thrusting the point of the instrument inside the boil, he pulled it out, tearing up the skin. Then he squeezed out the pus. A stripe of cloth was wrapped around the wound. Maharaj, don't do any walking for some days. If dust is allowed to enter the wound, you will get into further trouble, the barber warned. Jwandas left Jwalaji the next day for his native place, Rawalpindi, and Ramdas also started. Some sadhus, including Ramcharandas, tried to dissuade Ramdas from travelling on foot just then, when the wound was still fresh and unhealed, but Ramdas did not take their advice and came out on the road. That's all, folks. Let's see you in the next chapter. Thank you. Bye bye. Rama Rama Pupoda.